All right, let's dive in today. We're taking a look at this article
Okay.
called No Need for Spiritual Leaders, Just Become Master of Yourself from the Spiritual Seek website.
Okay. Yeah.
And it really caught my eye because,
Yeah.
who hasn't at least wondered about like the whole guru thing,
Right.
right? So like, is it really possible to ditch the external guides and become our own spiritual authority?
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to dig into today.
I think you've hit on something really important there with that question.
Okay.
Um, the article really does challenge
Yeah.
a deeply ingrained idea in a lot of spiritual traditions
Okay.
by arguing that over-reliance on a guru or mentors
Yeah.
can actually be something that holds back our spiritual growth.
Okay, so that's interesting.
Yeah.
Why would that be? Like, isn't it a good thing to learn from someone,
Right.
who's maybe further along or wiser or whatever?
It can be, of course.
Yeah.
But the article really digs into like the psychology of it all.
Okay.
And it suggests that when we put all of our faith in a guru,
Yeah.
we kind of risk falling into this pattern of delegating responsibility.
Oh.
So instead of actually like grappling with our own beliefs
Right.
and engaging in that deep self-reflection,
Right.
we might just passively accept the guru's teachings
Okay.
without really internalizing them.
I see. So it's almost like we're outsourcing
Yeah,
our spiritual development.
that's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Instead of actually doing the work ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense.
And I think it's important to remember that spirituality is so personal.
Right.
It really is about understanding our own values,
Yeah.
our own experiences,
Yeah.
and the meaning that we find in life.
I'm starting to see where this is going.
Yeah,
You can't just like copy and paste someone else's path
right.
onto your own life. It's got to come from within.
Exactly. And that's where I think this concept of introspection
Okay.
really comes in.
So break that down for me. What does introspection actually mean, like practically speaking?
Yeah. So think of it as like a journey inward,
Okay.
It's about making time and space
Right.
to honestly examine our thoughts and our emotions, our behaviors, the things that drive us.
Okay.
And, through that self-reflection,
Yeah.
we start to uncover those core values,
Right.
our deepest beliefs, like the essence of our own spirituality.
So self-awareness is like the foundation for real growth.
It really is, because without it,
Yeah.
we're kind of stumbling around in the dark,
All right.
Self-awareness allows us to see those patterns
Okay.
in our thoughts and actions,
Right.
the ones that might be holding us back.
Yeah.
And that's where, like, real transformation can begin.
It's like shining a light
Yeah.
on the inner workings of our minds.
I love that, yeah. Once we can see those patterns, the helpful ones and the not so helpful ones,
Right.
then we can start to make conscious choices about how we want to move forward.
Now, I don't want to misrepresent the article here.
Sure.
It's not totally against mentors, is it?
Right.
They do say that there's a place for mentorship,
They do.
especially when you're first starting out.
Especially in those early stages.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
But they really stress that it's about discernment,
Okay.
being able to tell the difference
Yeah.
between a genuine guide
Right.
and someone who might not actually have our best interests at heart.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's super important.
Yeah.
And I want to hear more about how to actually do that.
Oh.
How can we tell,
Yeah.
if a potential mentor is the real deal or not?
Well, the article gives us some pretty practical advice.
Okay.
First and foremost, they say,
Yeah.
trust your intuition.
Ooh.
That gut feeling, that inner voice,
Mm-hmm.
that's often a really good indicator.
Yeah.
And if something feels off
Yeah.
about a potential mentor, don't ignore it.
Right. That makes sense. Our instincts are usually trying to tell us something.
Right.
What else does it say?
Well, they also highlight looking for authenticity.
Okay.
Does this person actually walk the talk?
Mm-hmm.
Do their actions line up with their words?
Right.
And finally, they advise us to be wary of overly rigid teachings,
Okay.
because true spirituality is about exploration and finding what resonates with us,
Right.
not just blindly following a set of rules.
It makes me think of that line from the article
Yeah.
that said, true mentors see themselves as fellow travelers,
Yes,
not all-knowing leaders.
I love that line.
Yeah, me too.
It really sums it up well.
Yeah.
It's about a shared journey,
Yeah.
a collaboration,
Yeah.
not a top-down kind of dynamic.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
Now, I have to say,
Yeah.
I was pretty intrigued by this false prophet quiz in the article. It seems like a fun
Yeah,
and thought-provoking way to assess
it is.
the spiritual figures in our lives.
Right.
What do you think about that?
I think it definitely caught my attention too.
Yeah.
I think it's a good reminder to be critical,
Okay.
to look beyond just the surface.
So let's actually dive into a couple of those quiz statements.
Okay. Yeah.
I think this is where it gets really interesting.
Let's see what we can uncover. So we're talking about becoming our own spiritual authorities.
Yeah.
And the article goes on to suggest that achieving genuine self-mastery,
Okay.
like becoming the captain of our own spiritual ship, so to speak, involves cultivating a few key practices.
Yes, I remember you mentioned those earlier.
Yeah,
Could you remind me what they were
of course.
and how they contribute to this self-mastery?
Absolutely. So the first one is mindfulness.
Okay.
It's a word we hear a lot these days.
We do.
But what does it actually mean
Right.
in the context of spiritual development?
That's a good question because I think mindfulness can be misunderstood
Yeah,
as just another relaxation technique or something.
it's true. It's much more than that. Mindfulness at its core is about cultivating present moment awareness.
Okay.
It's about paying attention to our thoughts, feelings, and sensations without judgment
Okay.
as they arise.
So instead of just being swept away by them,
Yes,
we learn to observe them
exactly.
with more of a detachment.
Exactly. And that awareness, that space between us and our thoughts,
Yeah.
creates a sense of clarity and choice.
Yeah, okay.
It allows us to respond to situations thoughtfully rather than just reacting impulsively.
Oh, so it's like hitting the pause button
Exactly.
before we say or do something we might regret.
Precisely. And that ability to pause, to observe, and to choose,
Okay.
that's a crucial aspect of self-mastery.
Okay.
It shifts us from a reactive state to a responsive state,
I see.
which empowers us to make decisions that are aligned with our values.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
What about the second practice?
So the second one is reflection.
Okay. Fair reflection.
Goes hand in hand with mindfulness.
Okay.
It's about taking time to process our experiences,
Right.
learn from them, and integrate those lessons into our lives.
It reminds me of that saying,
Yeah.
experience is the best teacher,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not enough to just have experiences.
No.
You have to actually reflect on them to learn, right?
Got to extract the wisdom from them. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Any suggestions on how to go about that?
Yeah.
Is there a right way to reflect?
There are many approaches to reflection.
Okay.
Some people find that journaling is really helpful.
Okay.
It helps them articulate their thoughts and feelings.
Right.
Others prefer meditation
Mm-hmm.
or even just spending quiet time in nature, contemplating.
So it's about finding what works for you.
Exactly. Finding what resonates for you.
Okay.
But the key is to make it a regular practice,
Okay.
even if it's just for a few minutes each day.
Yeah.
Consistent reflection will help us develop self-awareness and learn from our mistakes.
Okay. So we've got mindfulness and reflection
Yes.
as two powerful tools.
Yes.
What about the third practice?
The third one is embracing challenges.
Okay.
And I think this one might be the most counterintuitive,
Yeah.
especially because most of us naturally tend to avoid
Right.
difficult situations.
Who actually enjoys a challenge?
Right.
Yeah.
But the article reframes this perspective in a really powerful way
Okay.
by reminding us that challenges are just an inevitable part of life.
Yeah, that's true. Life throws curveballs.
Yeah, that's true. Life throws curveballs.
It does.
Yeah.
And it's how we respond to those curveballs, how we
Right.
navigate those challenges
Yeah.
that truly determines our growth.
So we can choose to see those challenges, not as setbacks,
Yeah.
but as opportunities for growth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Challenges push us outside of our comfort zones. They force us to stretch and expand our capabilities.
Okay.
They build resilience. They
Right.
strengthen our resolve.
Yeah.
And ultimately, they help us evolve on a spiritual level. It's like what doesn't kill you makes you stronger,
Yes.
but more in an emotional and spiritual sense.
Exactly.
Not just physical.
Yeah, I love that connection.
Okay.
The article is essentially encouraging us to develop this inner strength,
Okay.
this ability to navigate the ups and downs of life
Yeah.
with grace and wisdom.
This all ties back to that idea of becoming our own spiritual authority,
It does.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
The more we practice these things, mindfulness, reflection, embracing challenges,
Yes.
the less we need to rely on anyone else
You got it.
for validation or direction.
You've hit the nail on the head.
Okay.
It's about developing that inner compass,
Yeah.
that intuitive knowing that guides us on our unique path.
I see how these practices,
Yeah.
while seemingly simple, can be really powerful if applied consistently.
Absolutely.
They can help us become more grounded,
Yes.
more resilient,
Yeah.
more confident in our own choices.
That's the beauty of self-mastery. It's an ongoing journey, but every step we take towards greater self-awareness and inner strength empowers us to live more fulfilling lives.
This has been so insightful.
Oh, good.
It's definitely prompting me to think about my own approach to spiritual growth.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, the article goes on to talk about this idea of recognizing false prophets or spiritual teachers who might not have our best interests at heart.
Yes, that was one of the things that really stood out to me from the article. Let's explore that. Let's talk about those warning signs.
Let's do it.
So we've been talking about becoming our own spiritual authorities. And I think a big part of that is recognizing those false prophets, which the article talks a lot about. It even includes that false prophet quiz to help us spot the red flags.
Yeah, it's a helpful tool for developing that critical thinking.
Right, exactly.
Reminding us that just because someone is charismatic or popular doesn't necessarily mean they're authentic or have genuine spiritual wisdom.
Yeah, it makes you really think about looking beyond the surface.
Yeah.
There was one statement in there that stood out to me. It said, if someone has a large following, they must be trustworthy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy to fall into that trap.
It is.
Especially in today's world with social media.
Yeah, where influence kind of dictates who we see as experts.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So how do we avoid that?
Well, it's a natural human tendency to think that if a lot of people follow someone, they must be worth listening to.
Right.
But as the article points out, that's not always the case. Popularity doesn't automatically equal integrity or spiritual insight.
It's like that saying, you can fool some of the people all the time.
Exactly.
There's another one in there that caught my attention too. It said, a true spiritual leader only radiates positivity and optimism, which seems like a lot of pressure.
It does.
It does.
Yeah, it's an unrealistic expectation.
Right.
And the article really pushes back on that.
Okay.
This idea of unrealistic perfection.
Yeah.
It reminds us that even spiritual teachers are human. They have their own challenges, their own complexities.
Right.
And expecting them to be perpetually positive is not only unrealistic, but can actually be a sign that they're hiding something.
It's a good reminder that life is full of ups and downs.
It is.
You know?
And a genuine spiritual guide is going to acknowledge that.
Yeah.
Embrace that complexity.
Right.
Instead of presenting this facade of unyielding positivity.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, the article also talked about the importance of trusting our intuition.
Yes.
When it comes to spiritual teachers.
Absolutely.
Right. If something feels off, we shouldn't ignore it.
Yeah, that inner voice, that gut feeling is often trying to tell us something really important.
Right.
So if you feel any hesitation or doubt about a potential mentor, pay attention to those signals.
It's like our internal alarm system.
Yes, exactly.
Going off.
And we should trust those instincts.
Right.
Don't be afraid to question teachings that don't resonate with you.
Okay.
Or that seem overly dogmatic or rigid.
Yeah.
Because true spirituality encourages critical thinking, exploration, finding what rings true for you personally.
This whole conversation has really been about taking ownership.
It has.
Of our spiritual journey and realizing that we have the agency to choose our own path.
It's so empowering, isn't it?
It is.
To realize we're not just passive passengers.
Right.
We are active participants capable of making these choices.
Yeah, and ultimately it's about cultivating that inner wisdom, that connection to our own authority.
Beautiful.
That can guide us on our own unique path.
The article really encourages us to question everything we think we know about spirituality.
Yeah.
And to bravely forge our own paths.
I love.
And it leaves us with a really thought-provoking question.
Okay.
Where do you feel drawn to go next in your exploration?
What a great question for us all to consider.
Yeah.
This deep dive has given us a lot to think about.
It has.
And I hope it encourages everyone listening to continue exploring and deepening their own spiritual journeys.
Me too.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, everyone.